So in the last video, I was trashing boomers for being severely out of touch about the current economy in modern times. And it turns out, these older folks are quite loud when they hear something they don't like. So the comments of that video, along with my direct messages, got flooded with different opinions about the divide that is the generations. And surprisingly, you might not believe this, almost all of these senior citizens that reached out actually agreed with our young and hip opinions on the raging society and the broken system. In fact, I even got an email from this gentleman, Joseph, that actually shows how many boomers actually completely understand the unfair change in society and the drastic change. Now, with all that being said, the videos I make here on this channel are meant to stir up conversation surrounding different topics I find relatable, authentically based in reality, at least through my perspective of life, and shine light on issues I find important. And being that the internet is the way that these videos get shared, there will always be people who agree with and disagree with the things I share and the thoughts and opinions I share. And I find, at least with individuals that can somewhat control their emotions, that conversations between people that have differing views actually leads to the best discourse. So I actually love reading all the comments, even if you guys disagree with me, as well as seeing you guys debate with each other in the comments, respectfully. So in this video, we're going to continue the discussion between the vast difference between the Gen Z and boomers. And hopefully over time, building a discussion around these topics can help us find a somewhat stable ground. Or, even better, maybe possibly help some of you guys out there to get a better grasp on what's going on in other people's heads. So with all that being said, let's begin the shit show.
What's the hardest part?
I'm no longer sitting in a computer or driving in a car to a call. Suddenly I'm standing for 4 to 6 hours and greeting people or making drinks or trying to learn the process and the food business thing, which is very difficult.
It's tough, but I'm proud of him at his age to be doing what he's doing.
The 401k drop was tremendous, is tremendous at this point in time, and that's where the savings was. That's our hurt right now.
We can't live our vision of our dream of retirement. That's the worst part. Many people can't.
And what was your dream?
Our dream was to have a log cabin up north, Leland area, and just live a nice, quiet life. And we can't do that.
You think you'll ever be able to retire?
I don't
No.
see that day. Can no longer see that day.
Now, this video is probably one of the most realistic to something I can really relate to in my life, because I've seen this time and time again, even in my personal life, where people I've worked with in the past, the older folks I've worked with, and I worked in convenience stores, restaurants, people who had to continue working, as well as people in my family, not going to name names, they're reaching this retirement age, expecting to retire, probably not going to be able to, because the money just isn't going to be able to stretch as far as you initially planned it to be able to, and the money you saved up isn't really enough compared to what the amount that you needed back then is. You need a lot more than that today for the same amount of stuff, the same amount of things, as we discussed in the last video about boomers, which you can check that out. I'll leave the link down below in the description if you want to go check that out. It's just kind of crazy to think how the inflation, the like crazy theft of taxation, that's how I look at it anyway. I think it's just kind of been absolutely insane how the economy over the last few decades has just tanked to the point where you need so many dollars to equal $1 used to equal. And we're going to continue discussing this and continue looking at some other people's views and opinions, how it's affecting them. Because as much as us young generations, as much as us Gen Zs like to think, it's all the boomers' fault, a lot of them are experiencing the same struggles we are. And I mean, some people might think they're supposed to have millions of dollars, which we're going to see those opinions too. But a lot of them are broke, just like we're broke, and we expect to never have millions. Now, maybe some of these boomers maybe had, or even Gen Xers, maybe they had a better chance to get these millions, but at the same time, the way life goes, how really much could you handle it? You have to put yourself in their perspective. And also, I really want to touch on how it seems like a lot of the comments I got were boomers blaming Gen X, and now we're Gen Z and millennials blaming boomers. Do you think that the Gen Alpha is going to blame the Gen Z and millennials in the future? Crazy how time works. That's kind of the timeline, though, if you really want to look 50 years ahead into the future. But let's just continue here, all right?
50 years, 7-Eleven.
See, yeah.
Wow, 50 years. Anything to say?
No.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Now, sorry that audio was a little bit fuzzy. They were actually that's just the raw, authentic video that I found online. But that gentleman was working there at that grocery store, that convenience store. It looked like just a normal grocery store. In the produce sections where it looked like he was at for over 50 years. And all he got was an email. Now, this is actually what really scared me, because I've always been able to put myself in other people's shoes. And when I was working at Target, I can say it now, because I mean, it's pretty obvious if you look at if you really pay attention to any of my last videos, I've confessed a lot of the places I've worked at in the past. I just don't always like to spew certain companies. I don't hate Target. It's just that was my experience. That was the place I worked for 3 or 4 years, and I didn't have the best experience. But for the first 2 years, it was fine. After that, it became more so lackluster. Change of management, change of viewership amongst the company, and everything changed. But anyways, continuing on. I was working with many people who were 50s, 60s, even in their 70s, and they had to continue working because they cannot afford their life into retirement, because there really is no retirement for a lot of people. And even a lot of us young folks, we always kind of expected, like, oh, there is no retirement. We kind of already accepted that. But like a lot of these people, they actually did expect to be able to retire. They actually did hope for this. And now they're getting to that point, and it's not a reality for them. So that is a big hit to the chest. And some people are cool with that. Some people want to work till they can't no more, until they drop. And some people feel like that's why we're here, to be put on life. Humans are made to suffer, but at the same time, I don't think that's necessarily the traditional 9 to 5, the rat race system that's been created is necessarily meant for what we're accustomed to be. But to each their own. Feel free to leave your thoughts, opinions down below in the comments. You guys always do, and everyone appreciate it.
Boomers don't have enough saved for retirement, and they want to make that our problem, but it's not our fucking problem, okay? Because they had every advantage. Less than half of them have $250,000 saved, and they are supposed to have $1 million saved for retirement. A quarter of them don't even have shit saved at all. Yeah, silent generation had better access to pensions, but whose fault is that? It is boomers. Boomers got in power, and they started all trying to screw each other over. They got super competitive, where the silent generation worked more for the benefit of everyone and tried to lift up everyone. Boomers intentionally wanted to screw each other over, and they all were happy to live in that system when they thought they would be the ones who ended up at top. But now when they're actually getting to the end of their lives and realizing that they never ended up on top, suddenly that's a problem, okay? And most of them have wasted tons of money on shit that they didn't need. And they've known they didn't have a pension for how long. They should have been putting money into a fucking Roth IRA or whatever. Like, they lived under a much easier economy in the fucking 90s and 2000s than what we have now. But they weren't preparing because they just expected that people would take care of them, because people always take care of the boomers because they've been, like, pandered to their entire fucking lives because they throw fits. Okay? I don't fucking care. Like, that was your problem. Don't put it on us.
I thought it was more than important for me to put a video like this here, even if it's somewhat towards the end of the video, because a lot of the negative comments and a lot of the negative reactions I was getting on my last video discussing boomers, which obviously, you know, guys, it's YouTube. It's not clickbait, but the titles have to be a little bit more, you know, humorous, maybe a little more outgoing, because I have to get you to click to really see the full message. So a lot of you boomers who actually, like a lot of you senior citizens, I'm joking, guys. This is just jokes here. I'm being entertaining, guys. But, you know, what I'm saying is, you guys actually understood, like, people do understand. So I want to really put this into perspective. This video is kind of touching on how, like, it's not really Gen Z millennials versus boomers Gen X. It's really, like, we both got to just kind of see the current economy, how it was beforehand, put it into perspective, face the reality, and accept it. And a lot of boomers have accepted it. So people like this, I think she's a millennial. She looked a little bit older than me, and I'm 25. I don't really feel this way, the same way this lady does, but some people genuinely just want to completely blame the older generations. And like I was saying earlier, do you think Gen Alpha, or whatever the generation that's coming next after that, their kids, crazy to think that's going to happen one day, are they going to blame Gen Z and millennials for ruining the economy for them? Because just like a video I put in the last video, or a video I reacted to in my last video, it's like, you know, 8 times what it was 20 years ago if we were to buy a house. What if when Gen Alpha becomes our age, what if it's 20 times what it is now in terms of inflation and how much the US dollar is valued? Because it really always goes down, you know, or at least in terms of, you know, inflation, how much money you need to get by for certain things. I would love to know all your guys' thoughts, opinions regarding any of this stuff, because it always is really interesting to hear your guys' thoughts, opinions regarding all this. And if you guys want to check out any of my other videos, I do have quite a long catalog, and I did get quite a few new subscribers, so welcome on board. I'm just chatting with Josh, and I just chat here with me, Josh, about my opinions and topics and shit like that. So feel free to check those out all throughout my channel. Huge shout out to everybody who goes above and beyond support. You can check out some of those links down below in the description, my Patreon links. You can see some behind the scenes, my life, my content creation career, and all that. You get to know more about me. You can talk to me personally for as low as $1 a month. Sorry, not $1, only one hand here. And yeah. If you do want to go above and beyond, throw a few dollars towards the ramen noodle fund. $3, I think it's $2.79 will get me a pepperoni pizza taquito at the Holiday gas station. That's like a mile away from my house, and that's what's gonna be spent on. But no donations are ever actually mandatory. I actually, when I first started this channel, I tried to stray away from donations, but a lot of you guys insisted on just throwing the links down there, so I do it for fun. If you know, it's a free country, use your free will accordingly. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to subscribe or like and comment your thoughts, opinions if you like this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. So, peace out. See ya.